Drawing, I've always done it since I was little. A lot of my uncles, they had like random notebooks like there, and they would sometimes draw stuff. And that always kind of like captured my attention, so I would try to copy them. I was like, oh, let me try to draw. But like little by little, I was trying to experiment. And then I remember one time I tried drawing my dad. He was just sitting there in the living room talking with my uncles. And I would be like, don't move, Dad. And I was trying to draw him. And I was only like 5 years old, I would say. But I was trying my best. And I guess like growing up, that was the only thing I ever really, really tried and challenging myself. In school, I would draw too. Like if they gave us the opportunity to draw like school project or homework or something, I would like be like, oh, you know, like I'm ready to go. Like this is where I get to shine, I guess. That's how I would take it. And this is my favorite one. I did a scene where we had to cut out pieces of paper and form a picture with it. Like we couldn't really draw anything. We had to just form a picture with pieces of paper. So what I did is I used a blue paper for the background, and then I used a different shade of blue for the sky. And then I cut out the shape of palm trees. Then I cut out the shape of a shark coming out of the water. That's when I realized that I was good at art. And then in middle school, that's when they introduce you to an actual art class. By that time, I guess my life outside of school was getting like more difficult, because by that time my dad had already passed away. So I was like more distracted, getting in trouble, maybe not paying attention in class and stuff. But whenever it came to art class, I would focus. But even then, that slowly started kind of going off track. So for a while, art just kind of became something I would, like drawing mainly became something I would do every now and then. Like I no longer had like that strong like urge to want to get better or to practice or anything like that. And then going into high school, I took art classes too, like drawing classes. And I liked it because it was like the one place where I felt like comfortable. You know, like as the closer I got to the end of high school, you know, my personal life, as far as, you know, like there's a lot of things that happen in high school, you know, like you go through relationships, friends, you know, like some people aren't your friends and you thought they were, you know, like all this, you know, drama pretty much was happening. And like the years were just like, each year it was getting worse. And then also there was like the pressure of like, oh, from high school, you're off to college. You have to know what you want to do with your life, this and that, you know, start signing up for like the FAFSA, start signing up at UTPA, STC, all this stuff. So all that was starting to like come my way. And that's like when I realized like, I don't know what I want to do like with my life. Like, and then I would mention art to some people, and people's reaction, I was always real naive, and I would like care too much about what people like thought about me or what they would think about things that I wanted to do or things that I liked or whatever. And people's reactions whenever I told them that I'd be maybe interested in doing something art related, they would kind of be like, oh, like there's not really that much money to be made, or like, you know, like almost making me feel like, oh, like you're gonna live in poverty if that's the path you want to choose, you know, good luck with that. Like I would always get that vibe from people. So, you know, me being like naive and stuff, like I let that get to me. So I was like, okay, I guess I won't do that. So I don't know what to do. So that's when I started college. And then, yeah, dude, like college, long story short, I tried going back and forth, like 4 times, I think. The first time I went with financial aid, and then the times after that I had to pay out of pocket. And I figured paying out of pocket would make me like focus and like kind of force me to not drop out. But that didn't happen. I would still drop out because I still didn't know what I wanted to do. It wasn't until the 2 last times that I tried going back. And those times, even though I never like finished or got a degree or anything, I did get something out of it. I took a drawing class, like an actual like college drawing class. And that taught me discipline. That's what I learned there, because like I was always really competitive when I took those drawing classes in college. And like I would look around like in the class, I was like, okay, let's see how good everyone else is. Let's see how much better I can be. Like I wouldn't say that to anyone, but deep down I was thinking that because I wanted to be better. One of the final projects was to do a triptych. And the purpose of that was supposed to be like 3 different pieces that have something to do with each other. And, you know, you're supposed to write an artist statement. And I was like, what's an artist statement? You know, like I don't have to write about my art. Like I just want to draw pretty much. Like I was really against it at first. And then the more I would look into what an artist statement was, like the more I was going to hate it, because I had this mentality of like, no, like you shouldn't have to write an artist statement. The art should speak for itself. Like that's the mental state I was in. And then when it came to turning in that project, everybody like turned theirs in with their artist statement. And then when I think I was like one of the last ones to present mine. And then I showed my drawings and everybody liked them. But then the professor was like, your artist statement? I was like, I don't have one. And then everybody was just kind of like, what? And then she's like, why not? I was like, well, I don't know. Like, I don't know what to say about him. Like, and I just drew like a fantasy, like necromancer character, which is like a character that like raises the dead. I drew a dragon, and then I drew a troll, like a random troll. And then like they were asking me like, but like where's the inspiration to this come from? And I was like, I don't know, just like from my mind, like video games, I guess, you know, like watching Lord of the Rings, I guess, like I don't know, like there's not really much meaning to these guys. I just drew them. So they're like, okay, well you could have written about that or something, you know? So I was like, okay. So it was kind of funny because like after that, that's when I like didn't really pay attention to art anymore. Like that was like the last like art experience I had for a while. And then it wasn't until Washington and coming back that I've kind of like realized what an artist statement is. And it's just, you know, whatever you have to say like about that drawing that maybe led up to it, maybe the meaning that you gave it, or maybe, you know, it can be anything. And I guess, you know, at the time I overthought it of how much like, I don't need to write for my art, it should speak for itself. But yeah, so after that, that's when I started really going off track, like with where my life was headed. Because I was slowly becoming more and more distant from art, not knowing that that was like the one thing that would bring me like peace of mind and I guess just like help me have a more clear mind, like be more of a peaceful person. Like I was just drifting more away from it because I was still with that mentality of like, oh, well, you know, like, I don't know what, like an art career is not going to take me anywhere. That, you know, that's what I would think. And then so like pretty much a long story short, all the chaos and then like the struggles of trying to have a decent paying job, like all that was slowly starting to like really get to me. Like I wasn't happy. Like I was like, I'm going nowhere with my life. Like I'm not happy. Like, yeah, like I have fun in the chaos, but like once it comes to like coming back home and, you know, reflecting on life, like those moments, like I would always like question what I'm doing. And then I guess what it took was like I got to a point where everything was really bad. Like pretty much it seemed like no matter where I went, I had something, like there was like something that was already like negatively affecting my life. And so I got fired from my last job, and I was like, I went to my car. I remember this moment perfectly. Like I got fired, and I got fired for attendance because I was always late. Like it wasn't even because like I was a bad employee or anything. Like they told me that, like the manager that fired me told me, he was like, you're a good employee, like you're a hard worker, it's just your attendance. And he even showed me like on the computer screen how many times he had overridden the system to let me like stay there. But he told me that after a certain amount of overrides that HR would get on his ass and be like, hey, what are you doing? Like you're supposed to let this guy go already. So yeah, like so that kind of like made me think, okay, like I guess at least I'm a hard worker, you know, I'm just always late. But I was like, oh, whatever, I lost my job. I went to my car and I was like really upset. I was like pissed at myself. Like, cause I don't know if you've ever gotten fired from a job, but it's a shitty feeling, man. Like getting fired, like feeling like you're easily disposable, like that's a bad feeling. So I got there and I was like, you know what? Like either I can go and get another part-time job or another random job and not take care of it like I've been doing, or I can force myself to grow up and become more responsible. And then there was two things that had happened before that made me make the decision of just moving to Washington, like just for, you know, just out of nowhere pretty much, because that's how it was to all my friends. Like it wasn't something that had been planning for a while. It just suddenly happened. And what that was one of my uncles, he already lived over there, and he would tell me like, hey, you should like try to come and move over here and just work, you know, like, you know, see what happens. And then I had another cousin that just decided to move over there one day too. And then he had come and visited like a month or so before I got fired, or I think like 2 months. But I asked him about it, and he was like I told him like, hey, like, so if I were to move over there, can you get me the job, or like, how is it over there? Like, I just asked him a bunch of questions, and he was like, yeah, I can get you the job, and it's so and so like this, the environment's like this, blah blah blah. So I was like, okay, there's money to be made. It's gonna force me to grow up, you know, if I move, because I'm no longer gonna be living with my mom. I'm not gonna be like, you know, depending on anyone. Like, I'm just gonna depend on myself, and I'm gonna have to keep a job if I want to have a place to live and so and so. So I picked up and I left. That's all I had planned. Like, just that I was gonna become more responsible, and I was stripping myself of everything I took for granted. So I got there, and the first year or so, like, it was like I wasn't that mature, that responsible yet, but little things here and there were happening that were forming me as a person, shaping me as a person. One thing I've always liked and that I picked up while being in the Valley was the gym, because like after high school, aside from like the whole struggling with school stuff, something I got really into was working out. You know, it was fitness. It was something I've always been interested in, but you know, like some people, it's hard to stick to. And at first it was like that for me, but eventually I became disciplined enough to stick to it. And that followed me to Washington. Like, I signed up for a gym as soon as I got over there, and I was doing that. But I guess back then I was like angrier. I had more anger and just being not happy with life. So I would like have all this aggression going to the gym, and I was like really into it. But once I was over there, like, I was starting to kind of drift away from that. Like, I wasn't really that angry anymore. If anything, I was just like, you know, like just kind of like taking everything in, like all the experiences and stuff. And I guess like the gym wasn't really doing much for me, long story short. And then that's when like the sudden thing of drawing happened. And I had actually done psychedelics prior to starting to draw. There's two trips that stood out to me the most, which is the last one and then the second one. The second one, it was like in a more peaceful setting, because that's what really messed with some of my other trips. But the second one was in a peaceful setting, and I tried meditating while under the effects, and I got into like this almost like semi out of body type experience thing, where I saw life from my little brother's perspective. Like, I saw me and him in a moment. Like, I relived the moment where we went to some Halloween store to get him like a costume, except I was in his shoes and I was like him holding my hand, because I would always hold his hand. And then that's where like it really hit me. Like, I was like, whoa, like I'm his role model. I have to do something with my life. He looks up to me so much. So, you know, there was that little experience there. And then there was, I guess the one thing of the third one was I felt like there was somewhat of a connection between me and my dad, because I've always wanted like, because I guess like what led me to all this chaos was lack of guidance from a male role model. So I would kind of have to pick my own role models to look up to, and some of them weren't wise choices, but you know, I just went with whatever. And well, yeah, like so there was always like that part of me that wanted to reunite with my dad and try to like get some sort of advice or guidance. So that trip, I had this feeling of like I was sitting on the couch and I felt like he was sitting next to me, and I felt like my little brother was next to me too. And I felt like my dad kind of just like held me and told me, you're doing all right. Like, you're not doing as bad as you think. You're too harsh on yourself, pretty much. And then that's when I did that painting. What I saw while on the trip though was I saw like the eyelids here. So it looks like there's two eyes there. And then I saw like a shape of a nose here. And then I saw like the lips here. And then I actually wish I could get rid of the snake, but do you guys see like the face that I'm talking about? More or less. Like, that's kind of what I saw trying to peek through the art. So like through all this, like there was something hiding there. And then, you know, in my mind, I interpreted it as like me. It's like a darker side of me. It was like a reflection of like myself, pretty much. And well, yeah, like that's pretty much it about it. As that was happening, like my time in Seattle, it was starting to kind of like go downhill as far as experiences. Like at first it was really like everything was going up. I was like, oh, you know, like work is on point. I recently got like, I recently got like moved to another position that's gonna pay me more or something, and then I ended up not getting paid more. That's what really got me upset. Like, I don't want to work for someone the rest of my life then. But that was happening. I given the whole gym thing that I try to stay disciplined, I was being real on point at that time. So that was really good too. And then the whole art thing, like everything was on point, but then negative things started coming my way, like left and right. Like it seemed like I was never getting a break. Like we're getting evicted, and like my living situation was getting bad. My work situation, my health started going downhill. Like I was just becoming really depressed. And I'm probably going in circles at this point, but like, I guess like as things got worse, I was getting at least I was getting better at drawing. That's the one thing I was noticing. And there'd be like days where I come home and I was like so fed up with everything. I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna sit down, I'm just gonna draw, whatever happens, whatever ends up on the paper. And there'd be times where like I wouldn't even go into the apartment. I started just drawing in the car. Like I would get home, and instead of going upstairs, going into my room, I was like, you know what, like I'm just gonna sit here in my car. Like this is the one place I'm alone, no one bothers me. Like I'm just out here like in the middle of the night in Seattle, you know, like what am I doing out here? Like my whole family's in Texas, but I'm over here. So, but I'd be sitting there, and I just like, with whatever, you know, like little light source I had from like the street lights, I'd grab a few pens from my room, take them with me to the car, grab like this little pad here thing with a little 5x8 paper, 5x7, and I just draw like out of anger, dude. Like I would draw out of either sadness or anger. Going through all that kind of was worth it, because then there would be like the good days. Like despite, you know, me struggling with depression and all that, I still had like my little moments that really like were eye-opening. Because, for example, I guess I can show this one. I don't know if you want to bring the camera, I'll bring it over. But like this is one I'm really proud of. It's based off a character from a music video from one of my favorite bands. And it's funny, like funny story behind this one, because prior to me drawing this, my favorite band hadn't released a new video or anything, and I had texted my best friend. I was like, man, you know, Behemoth better hurry up and release something new, you know, either a new song, a new video, something, because I'm craving some new material. The very next day they drop a video, and it has, you know, this is the lead singer with special makeup effects. And I was like amazed by the video. So I was like, I want to try to draw it. This was like months later after the video and stuff. I was feeling really down, but I was like, you know what, like I've always wanted to draw like the best version, realistic version of Satan. So I want to try to draw my own. This night, like that I finished it, like I went to sleep crying that night, because I was really depressed. Like I said, like I was like, man, you know, life sucks, this and that, why me? And the very next day, him, like the actual singer of the band, he reposted my drawing on his page, because that was part of the reason why I did it, because he would always repost portraits of himself by by fans pretty much. So what I thought was like, you know what, like there's so many things that, like so many reasons to do this drawing, you know, aside from my own, like maybe he'll like it enough to the point where he wants to post it up himself. So he actually did that, and this was, like I said, like the night before I had actually cried myself to sleep. And then the next day he shares it, and I was like, wow, I can't believe this. Like I woke up to this, like knowing that he, I guess, like acknowledged my art and like said that it was like really good and stuff, like that made me believe that I have the potential to really do something. I don't know what it is just yet, but that I have that artistic potential to go far. The reason I came back was because I guess after everything I had gone through and you know, picking up art, you know, drawing and this and that, like I realized that finally I knew what I wanted to do. Like I was finally like happy as far as any future goals that I had potentially. So yeah, that's what made me come back. And also because it goes to my little brother too, you know, like I want to be able to inspire him. And like being that we're both growing up without like I guess I'm his male role model, but without a father, we're both growing up without a father. I was like, I need to be able to be the one to, you know, be that role model, be that hero. You know, I need to stick to something and make something happen for him to do that too. Like if he grows up seeing me like busting my ass every day pretty much, you know, trying to make this happen, like he sees me like when I'm drawing, like I tell him like, okay, don't bother me right now, I'm gonna draw, I need to make a video, I need to do this, and he sees how serious I take it pretty much. Like I want that to like rub off on him, so that the day he discovers something that he wants to do, like he's gonna take it just as serious. Yeah, so like with the YouTube channel these days, I'm constantly trying to make the videos better. I'm trying to learn about like proper lighting, because that's something I struggle with a lot sometimes. But I'm trying to make that better. I'm trying to make the videos more interesting. I don't want them to just always still be just time-lapse pieces. Like I play around with the background music. I try to choose maybe interesting topics to talk about. I have one where I open up about depression. Like I don't even really talk about the drawing. Like I tie it in as far as, you know, my depression and how it ties into my art, but like I try to make it relatable for the people watching. Maybe they're going through the same thing, and I want to be someone that at least, you know, understands them and maybe can throw in some words of encouragement, because I feel like that's really gonna help the world. And you know, the fact that it's online, you know, means anybody can run into the video, watch it, and maybe it'll help them. So yeah, I'm trying to do that, like with trying to make the channel more like, you know, so like more than just drawing videos pretty much. I want to go down as one of the greatest dark artists. If I'm able to achieve that, and being from the valley, I want to be able to kind of like put the valley on the map. You know, like I want people to be like, oh, you know, here's this really great artist and he's from the valley. So people are going to be aware of this place and be aware of, you know, what this place has to offer.